Welcome back, Hive Mind. This is Shalazar with Hive Mind Gaming, coming at you with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to take a look at all of the sets for accessories and artifacts. We're going to take a closer look at which sets we want to keep, which ones we want to get rid of, and we also want to take a look at what do you want to sell when cleaning out your artifacts and accessories. There's only 700 spots to be taken up by equipment for both the accessories and the artifacts. So eventually you're going to have to start cleaning those out. So we're going to take a closer look at which items should be put in the bin. Let's go. The first thing we want to look at when we're looking at gear, like what gear to keep, what gear to sell, we want to look at first the primary stats. When it comes to the top three items here, your primary stats are all going to be the same. It's going to be attack, HP, flat rate HP, and flat rate defense. Now, when it comes to the bottom three, that's when you're going to get into a whole mess of difference. So for gloves, the only options you're going to have for gloves are going to be your 3 flat rate stats, which is going to be HP, attack, and defense, and then the 3 percentage stats, which are going to be HP percent, defense percent, and attack percent. And then you can get crit rate and crit damage gloves. So what we're looking for when we're looking to sell or keep, we always want to sell our flat rate gear, because your defense gear, your percent gear, is always going to be better than your flat rate gear. When it comes to chest pieces, you're still going to have the 3 flat rate, the 3 percentages, and then you're going to also have the option of resistance and accuracy. So keep that in mind when you're when you're trying to figure out what chest piece you want on your champ. And then last but not least is your boots, which are again going to have your 3 flat rate, your 3 percentages, and then the other option is going to be your speed. Now, if you can't remember what each thing does, all you have to do is come here and go, okay, I'll click on my gloves. So it will tell you right here what is available. And then you can do the same for the chest piece. And then last but not least, do the same for the boots. Alright, now when it comes to substats, the secondary stats down here, what you're looking for, again, is the percentages. Sometimes you'll have pieces like this that have the one random thing that is not a percentage, it's a flat rate, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But when you run into a situation where it's a blue item, which I'm not going to have any because I sell them, but if you have a blue item and both pieces are flat rate, you might as well sell it. And the reason is because when you get to level 4 and it levels up one of those two things, it's going to be a flat rate thing. So I would just get rid of it. Now, because I'm more in-game, if I have one that's percentage and one that's flat rate, I sell it if it's blue. Now, if it is an epic or a legendary and there's a flat rate, then I don't care as much because I have the other 2 and the other 3 stats that I can work off of. Now, if it's a situation where it's a legendary and it has one, like this one for instance, it has this one item here, and I start leveling it, and all the bonuses start going into the flat rate, at that point it's not as useful to me, so I'll just get rid of it. So keep that in mind as you're leveling up, and of course, again, guys, this also has to do with where you are in the game. If you get into in-game, you're going to want to min-max your champion's stats, and to do that, you're going to be looking for all percentage-based stats instead of flat stats. Next thing we want to take a look at is accessories. So when it comes to rings, for their primary stat they will only have the three flat stats: HP, attack, defense, and that's it. They don't have anything else special about them. Now when it comes to their substats, they will only have the option as the three flat stats: HP, attack, defense, and the 3% stats, which is going to be HP, attack, and defense. The short answer on what to keep and what to sell is if all three percentages are on one ring, keep it. There's no reason to get rid of it because that's the best it could possibly be. That's the short answer. If it's a blue item and only one of them is a percentage, I sell it. I personally sell it. Does that mean you should? No, not at all. Because if you can upgrade it to level 8 and both of them fall into the percentage, then you're fine. You're good to go. Go ahead and run with it. It's not a problem. I'm more in game, so I don't even want to waste my resources on it, so I just sell them outright and keep the ones that only have two percentages. I do the same for the epics. As long as I have at least two of the three percentages, then I keep it for that chance that I'm going to when I upgrade it or when I level it to level 8 or even 12 with an epic, then hopefully it's going to drop in one of these two categories. If it doesn't, if they start dropping in the flat stat, then usually I'll just go ahead and sell it. So that's where I take my chances. And the same with legendaries. If a legendary doesn't have all three, then I usually sell it. Now, are there special situations that I don't? Absolutely. One of them being, like for instance, Sifi here, she could care less about the attack percentage. So if it's a defense or HP ring and it only has the defense and HP percentage on it and the other two are flat stats, I could care less. And the reason is because HP champs, defense based champs, and rezzers / healers could care less about the attack attribute, so it's okay that you don't have the attack percentage on the ring. So those are the ideas or the things I look for when it comes to rings. If you forget what could possibly be your primary stat, again, you can cheat by just coming here and going, oh yeah, that's right, that's the only three that can do. Now, it does not work for substats. For some reason, the substat portion of this is bugged or works as intended, but it doesn't show you what could possibly be the substat on the ring. Amulets are going to be different. They can actually be either your three flat stats as your primary stat, they can be crit damage. Those are your options for your amulet. When it comes to the substats on amulets, it can only be your three flat stats. You cannot get percentage stats on your amulet. It can be crit damage, accuracy, or resistance. So those are your 6 options for the amulet. Again, you can come over here and look at this for your primary stats and it will show you, but again, it does not work for the substats, only the primary stats. Now, when it comes to selling or looking for what to sell and what to keep on the amulet's pretty straightforward. There's only one thing that I definitely sell if I see it, and that's going to be an attack amulet. And the reason why I would just straight up sell an attack amulet, because there's literally no reason to have it. Because if it's an attack based champion, hopefully your crit rate is at 100%, therefore your crit damage wants to be as high as it can possibly be, so when it actually does that crit, it's going to hit for a lot of damage. And you're going to get way more out of crit damage than you are your attack stat. So you will never choose attack over crit damage. The only time that you wouldn't choose crit damage over attack is if you just don't have any crit damage amulets. So if you're a low spender, free to play account, or your early game, or even mid game, you just might not have the amulets to choose from, so you might want to keep all of your amulets. And that's going to be a decision you're going to have to make, because where you're at on your spider team makes the difference on what you're going to get rid of and why. Because if you just don't have the option to get a crit damage amulet, then you will have no choice but to put the attack amulet on there. So once you get into more in-game and you're able to farm Spider 20 constantly, then you're going to have an influx of crit damage amulets. So at that point, these attack amulets just need to go away. All right. And then next we have the banner. So the banner is going to be your flat stat, HP, attack and defense, resist, and accuracy. So when it comes to the substats for a banner, it's going to be your 3 flat stats, your 3 defense stat or percentage stats, which is going to be your HP, attack, and defense percentage, and then your speed. The banner is the only accessory that will have speed on it. So that's an important stat for your banner. So when deciding to go through your banners and get rid of the ones that you don't need, again, it boils down to where you're at on your spider. If you can grind out the resistance banners. If you're early game, you may not want the resistance banners. When you're late game, you're gonna want your resistance banners, especially for arena, because once you get into arena, gold 4 and platinum, you need resistance, because people will just absolutely will tear you up with debuffs and turn meter manipulation. So you've got to have high resist to help fight against that. So resistance banners are going to be really big in late game. And then you've got your accuracy banner, which if you're placing a debuff, you need accuracy. If you're affecting their turn meter, you need accuracy. If you're affecting their health in any way, like a health swap, or if you're doing anything that manipulates the other team, you need accuracy. So any champs that have those kinds of abilities and you want those kinds of abilities to work, you're going to want an accuracy banner. Now when it comes to your flat stat banners, it depends on what you need them for. Like for instance, if it's just a nuker and you don't want them to land any debuffs or anything, you just want them to do damage, then an attack banner is going to be what you want. And then if you're just a tank and you don't, or a HP champ or a defense champ, and you have no abilities that require accuracy and you're not using them in arena, then just a flat rate HP attack or defense banner might be what you're looking for. So there's lots of reasons to keep all your banners, just depends on what you need them for. The next thing what we want to talk about is the artifact sets. Which sets do you want to, should you keep and should you not keep? Alright, so if you're farming Ice Golem Peak, then your primary stats that you're going to be dealing with are going to be life, offense, defense, crit rate, resistance, retaliation, reflex, cursed, and taunting. So the first 5 are going to be keepers. You're probably, as long as they fall into the category which I described earlier, depending on their primary stat and substats, those are the ones you're going to keep. When it comes to retaliation, this is a niche set, meaning that there's going to be very few champs that you're going to want to put a retaliation set on. Once you get into in-game, you may or may not put them on anything. But I would keep the really good pieces. Like if you get a legendary pair of boots that are speed boots with the with great substats, keep them. It's okay to do broken sets. So keep those kinds of things. And and just to start off with, that goes for all of these sets. But legendary or epics from any of these sets that have really good primary stats, really good substats, keep them. It's okay to make broken sets. So with that in mind, let's go through the rest of the sets. Retaliation, niche, probably not going to use it a lot, but keep your best stuff because you may want to put it on at least one person. When you start getting into close to 700 pieces of gear in your inventory, you have to make those hard decisions on what do I keep and what do I get rid of. That's what I would do with retaliation. Reflex, get rid of it. Cursed, get rid of it. Taunting, exactly like retaliation. Very niche. You're only going to put it on a champ that has a reason to attack them. In other words, if there's something about their kit that says, when I get attacked, I do X to the person attacking, then they're going to want the taunting set. Or if you have someone like Hegemon, you can put a taunting set on because he's always going to go first. And when you're doing a AoE spread attack, the taunting gear is a good way to CC your opponents. Just like retaliation, it's niche. You want to make sure that you're putting it on the right champ, so only keep your best pieces. Alright, moving on to the Dragon's Lair. What you're looking at here is your speed, accuracy, lifesteal, destroy, frost, daze, avenging, stalwart, and toxic. So your first three you're definitely keeping, right? Your speed is probably the most wanted out of this dungeon. You got accuracy, which is a really good set. Lifesteal, really good for your clan boss and dungeons. Destroy, get rid of it, useless. Frost, another niche set, just like retaliation and taunting. You're only going to want to put that on a champion that does an AoE taunt in their kit. So not only are you CCing them by forcing them to attack you, but you're going to CC them for a second turn by forcing them to be frozen. Now, keep in mind, when you're doing that, though, they take less damage when they're frozen. Their skills do not cool down when they're frozen, so keep that in mind. So Frost is a really good CC, but they do take less damage. So if you've got a situation where you're doing single target damage, like with a Rotus or a Mountain King, something like that, then Frost is a great CC. So taunt everybody, they attack your taunter, they get frozen, and then you hand pick the ones that you want to single target nuke with your Rotuses and Mountain Kings, things like that. Daze set, get rid of it. It's not the greatest of the CCs. Avenging, get rid of it. Stalwart, it's kind of niche. It's great for situations like your clan boss teams, possible dungeon teams, things like that where you're going to be dealing with a lot of AoE bosses, that kind of thing. In Arena, the best use I've seen so far of it is with Kandrathon, where he goes into Veil and he takes less damage while he's in Veil, plus his kit says that he takes even less damage from Veil, and then with Stalwart, he'll take even less damage from AoE attacks, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do damage to him while he's in Veil. So it could be used for that. It could be used with Duchess Lilitu, with all of her friends that are under Veil. Things like that are great uses for Stalwart, but again, very niche. Then you got the Toxic set, get rid of it. It's useless. Alright, moving on to Fire Knight's Castle. You've got the Fury set, crit damage, frenzy, shield, regeneration, stun, savage, immunity, and curing. Alright, so Fury set, in the bin. The crit damage is a good set, so keep that around. You can get pieces out of that. Frenzy set, get rid of it. Shield, great set. I try to have at least one champ in every single Faction Wars team to have a shield set, because in Faction Wars it's absolutely fantastic. Arena, it's good. Dungeons, it's good. shield set is just really, 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 really good. Regeneration, very niche, not really a huge call for it. So just keep your best pieces. Stun set, fantastic, fantastic. I will say it one more time, fantastic CC. So probably the best CC in the game. It is definitely a set you want to put on champs that do AoE. It's the best way to get through your waves during your dungeon runs because you do a AoE attack. It whatever your AoE attack does on top of that, it has a chance to stun them. So it's just a all around great set. But again, it's niche. You got to have the right champ to put it with. Savage gear. All your nukers are going to be in savage gear. Period. End of story. If you're nuking, they're wearing savage gear. The best set out of this dungeon. Absolutely best set out of the dungeon. Immunity. Immunity gear is going to be great for you once you get into gold 4 and platinum because that's going to give you your first three turns without being CC'd at all. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic because at that point you put it on your reser, you put it on your cleanser, so they come in, they give debuffs to your whole team, and then your cleanser comes up and says, "Nope, not on my watch," and he cleanses your whole team, and boom, your nukers do the work. Great set, great set. So you want to definitely keep that set as well. Curing, useless, in the bin with curing. All right, so that's pretty much it for those sets. Now, the other sets we want to take a look at are going to be in the Forge. You've got the Swift Parry set, which is a fantastic set. The problem is it's a 4-piece set, so it's going to be taking up a lot of uh, space to run that set. But pretty darn cool to set up a champ that, like, let's say Foley or someone like that, where they take lethal damage because harsh language kills them. So they go, no, I've got unkillable. You can't kill me today, not this time, and then you nuke them back and game over. So Swift Parry, definitely good. You got to put it on the right champs to make sure that it works. Deflection, really good. It's just a small percentage chance, but it's it's very rude when you go to try to place a debuff on your opponent, and then all of a sudden the person who is trying to place it now is wearing it. That's a very rude thing to do, and I encourage that. And then you've got the Relentless set, which is a great 2-piece set. It's HP and defense both. And then Perception is fantastic. I love Perception, which is the accuracy and speed. So all 4 of these are really good, really good pieces to try to create. The next thing we want to take a look at is going to be in the Bazaar. So you have the chance, if you're in silver or gold, you have the chance to purchase these accessories. Now it's random what you'll get. It's random if you get a ring, amulet, or banner, and then it's also random which one you get. You can get a refresh accessory or a cleansing accessory. Now, what the refresh accessory does, this is a really bad description. It says refresh accessories prevent skills going on cooldown. Now, what that means is when you use an ability, your A2, 3, or 4, and it has a cooldown on it. So if you use it, there's a percentage chance that it won't go on cooldown. So keep that in mind when you have someone like, I don't know, Rotus, who attacks the skill that he attacks with, that he just murdered someone with, normally would go on a 3-turn cooldown, now doesn't go on cooldown, and lo and behold, he gets an extra turn because, well, he's Rotus, and then he murders someone else, and then there's a percentage chance that it won't go on cooldown yet again. So it's really good. It's a really good one. It's just really good, and then it's crazy good on someone who gets extra turns, and they got a really good A2, A3, or A4, whatever it is, and it just doesn't go on cooldown. I mean, it's just really good. And the more you have, the bigger the chance gets. So I think it's 8%. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's 8% chance. And then, of course, if you have two, you got 16%, so on and so forth. And then the second one is the cleansing accessory, which is also great. It has a percentage chance every turn to cleanse a debuff off your champion. Really good accessories. I suggest getting to silver as quickly as possible so you can buy them every single day. It's on a 24-hour cooldown. So the last thing I want to go over when it comes to decking out your champions, it's very important to pay attention to the damage type of your champion. For instance, Sir Nick here, Mr. Santa Claus himself, is an HP champ up here in the corner. And then not only that, his damage is based on HP. So that means this stat right here does nothing for him. So when you're decking out your champs, make sure when you're putting a chest piece, gloves, or boots on him, make sure that it's HP percent, not attack percent, because the attack does nothing for him. And if you can find gear that doesn't have attack on them, even better. Another example would be Razin. He is a defense-based champ with defense as the primary damage source. So he wants defense percent, defense rings and amulets, etc., etc. So that's what you want to pay attention to when you're leveling up your champs, or when you're gearing out your champs. You want to make sure that their gear represents what their primary attribute or damage is going to be based off of. So you want to steer away from the attack if their damage is based on HP or defense. Alright, that's it for this video. If you liked what you've seen and you want to see more, hit the like and subscribe button. I would appreciate it, and it helps. Every single one of them helps. Other than that, happy hunting. We'll see you next time. Bye.